Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Bhagwan, you're the only one who can dissolve any sort of problem, pain that we have internally, externally. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarataschaarteshwabhignaswarat tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayaha tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Bhagwan, we are taking a sankalpa that our intellect will always revolve around you. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parerishvaraha Sadyo hridya varudyate trakritibihi shushrushubi tatchana. Bhagwan, it is only by listening to you that you manifest in our personality. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. My first exposure to Srimad Bhagavatam was in November of 2005. I just moved to the ashram, and shortly after, Pujya Swami Tejomayananda facilitated a Bhagavata Saptaha. I have the bookmark still from that time. What Guruji was sharing, who knows? My responsibility was to carry this huge canister of water from the Annakshetra to the Yajñashala. So that was my main takeaway from my first exposure to Bhagavatam, is this is heavy work. This is hard work. I never, ever imagined I would study Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the way that I'm now studying this. I never imagined ever that I would be sharing Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the way that I'm sharing right now. I hope for all of you, I pray for all of you, that you're feeling the same, that you now know about Srimad Bhagavatam, and not casually, but seriously, section by section, Gita by Gita. And you will know that this exposure is working on you because you come to feel ta means means, va, the best, ga, to go, bha means Bhagwan. The best means to go to Bhagwan is Bhagavata. Are you feeling this? By show of hands, you feel what I'm sharing. I think, how can you not? After 156 hours, how can you not? And if you can't, va. Your bala is much more than Bhagavata. The 11th skanda has 31 chapters. Of these 31 chapters, 23 revolve around Uddhava Gita. This is a large Gita within Bhagavata. Here are the three main thoughts from Uddhava Gita, which is the main teaching from this 11th section. For one to become Bhagwan, one has to be a bhakta. It is the bhakta who becomes Bhagwan. So then we need to know, how do we become a bhakta? When your thoughts, words, and actions are directed to Bhagwan, you are a bhakta. This was described as Bhagavata dharma. If your thoughts, words, and actions are not directed to Bhagwan, how can you become Bhagwan? I live in Niagara Falls. If I never drive south, how will I reach America? It's impossible. Next is, for one to detach to attach. One has to detach from what they're holding on to right now to be able to attach to the higher, to Bhagwan. Do you remember me describing those people who don't know how to detach? What kind of animal or amphibian are they? I think this is an amphibian. Can you share in the chat? Do you remember? A turtle, correct. A kurma, one whose house lives on their back. So one has to detach to attach. In the language of Bhagavad Gita, the words are tapa and yajna. Tapa means to conserve, and yajna means to direct. Here is the third main thought. In Uddhava Gita, Bhagavan Krishna teaches Rishi Uddhava to grow out of swartha. Tell me in English, what does swartha mean? Selfishness. It means your only artha is sva. That I only do for me, that's selfishness. To grow out of this and grow into prityartham. Prityartham. What I do to please Bhagwan. From swartha to prityartha, the more one knows how much Bhagwan loves you, me, us, the more natural this is. In this 11th skanda, Bhagwan is leaving, but he doesn't leave us high and dry. He leaves so much content for us to know so that we love him fully. The 30th chapter is where Bhagavan Krishna's avatara comes to a completion. I read the entire chapter to everyone. Many of you shared with me how moving this was, how you missed Bhagavan in a visceral way, which makes me very happy that we don't feel that Bhagavan is just an esoteric idea, but you feel it. Some of the main thoughts in the 30th chapter: when one is intoxicated, they become petty. Petty. Now you think about your own personality. If you're someone who focuses on pettiness, this happened to me, that person didn't do this to me, this word was said, that word wasn't said, you may not have put an intoxicant into your body, but you're still intoxicated. Pettiness is a sign of being intoxicated. Bhagavan Krishna's family, when they were intoxicated, the smallest annoyance led to violence. Sounds like present day, no? A few more thoughts. I had shared with all of you in Meaningful Mornings recently that a Raja's responsibility is to alleviate paraspara bhaya, to ensure that people don't have fear amongst themselves. One of my teachers had shared that 70% of humans, they have the clothing of a human, as in they have hair and skin, but their nature is like a mriga. What does mriga mean? An animal. And animals only understand punishment. And this chapter really showcases that even Bhagwan's family, their name may be associated with Bhagwan, but their nature was not. For us to be careful about pettiness, to be careful about evolving our nature. Another thought. Bhagwan Krishna's elder sibling, Sankarshana. That's the name we know him of popularly. But do you remember what his original name is? Not Sankarshana, but Rama. Not even Balarama. See, there's so many Ramas. Parashu, Rama. Kodanda, Rama. Bala, Rama. His name is Rama. When he saw that everyone is being destroyed, that was the sign for him to shift from Dvaita to Advaita. So he went to the ocean, he closed his eyes, he contemplated, and he resumed being the supporter of Bhagwan. From external to internal. So whenever you are at the ocean, please remember our Balarama to make that connection. And for our Bhagwan Krishna, he had his left leg on his right leg, and his toe was sticking out. And his toe looked like a mouth. If you open your mouth right now, it's reddish. Bhagwan's toe was like that too. And Bhagwan Krishna's toe was shot, and Bhagwan Krishna's body died. Now I'm going to share more details about this. But one very beautiful point about this is, throughout Ramayana and Bhagavata, we came across those who were slain by Bhagwan, they went to Swarga, correct? The Rakshasas in Ramayana, the Asuras in Bhagavatam. Here, Jara, he's the one who, I think the word is slew. He's the one who slew Bhagwan. And what happened to him? He also went to Swarga. How awesome is our Bhagwan that if he kills you, you win. If you kill him, you win. Don't go in with that intention. But my point is that Bhagwan just came to bless. You just have to be with him in any which way. He came to bless. In all of this fighting, even the divine weapons of the family of Bhagwan Krishna, of Balarama, of Bhagwan, all of these weapons were destroyed. Bhagwan Krishna's weapons, the Sudarshana Chakra, etc., they all returned to Bhagwan from external to internal. If I could summarize this entire chapter in one teaching, it is to be independent and then loving. Bhagwan Krishna was, is, will be independent. In Meaningful Mornings, I described him as a rishi and loving. Because if you love yourself, then you can love others. See, Bhagwan, he was not someone who lived by likes and dislikes with his own family. If his family was wrong then. That kind of love only comes from being independent. Now, when you watch TV serials about Bhagwan Krishna, do they teach you this? It's only emotionalism. You don't know what to do with that. That's why Vedanta is critical. And the final chapter of this section, the final chapter that still involves Bhagwan Krishna, but a happier chapter. This is the 11th skanda, the 31st chapter. I'm reading the 6th shloka. Rishi Shuka is sharing with Raja Parikshita. Loka biramam swatanum Dharana dhyana mangalam yoga dharana yagneya dhagdva dham dhamba vishatsvakam. I'm reading the translation. Please listen carefully. Without, because there's two interpretations here. I'm reading to you the more meaningful interpretation. Without employing the mystic Agnayi meditation to burn up his transcendental body, which is the all-attractive resting place of all the worlds and the object of all contemplation and meditation, Lord Krishna entered into his own abode. Elaborating. Balaramaji, he went to the ocean, he contemplated on Bhagavan Krishna, and he left that externality, that body. Now, what did Bhagavan Krishna do? He has an arrow in his toe. He's as if bleeding, as if. He's told, Jara, you go to Swarga. And so a chariot came and took him to heaven. What Bhagavan did was he also contemplated on his own being. And that's why in the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the last portion, Satyam Param Dhimahi, that we contemplate on the highest truth. Shri Balaram did it, Bhagavan Krishna did it. They're showing us what we should be doing. As Bhagavan is doing this, I want you to duly know what I just read to you. Many times in our Shastras, when an enlightened being leaves their body, what do? They burn their own body through their own power. It's called a yogic Agni. That I read to you. Bhagavan did not. Bhagavan did not invoke that fire for his body to burn. Do you know why he didn't? Because people love Bhagavan's Rupa. And he didn't want anyone's notion of Bhagavan's form to change, so he kept his body as is. I'll read this to you. In the heavens, kettle drums sounded, and from the sky, rains of flowers came. But with the Lord's departure, also departed from the earth truth, dharma, forbearance, glory, and prosperity. Brahma and other divinities expecting Krishna in their respective realms failed to see anything beyond a wonder-evoking glimpse of him whose course none can trace. Just as humans beholding a flash of lightning speeding beyond the expanse of clouds cannot trace its course, so the divinities failed to trace whether Krishna disappeared. Brahma, Rudra, and other divinities were astonished to witness the spiritual ascent of Sri Hari and went to their abodes praising what they had witnessed. O King, know that the Lord's coming into being and disappearing as they incarnate amongst humans is something assumed by his power of Maya, just as an actor playing a role. It is the same in his cosmic manifestation too. After creating the world, he enters into it as its indweller, sports for a time in that world of his own creation, and then dissolves it in himself. But nonetheless, he remains by virtue of his prowess in that supreme glory of his own majesty as the Supreme Spirit, ever unchanging and unaffected by all the cosmic processes. He brought the son of his guru bodily from Yama's realm. He, the protector of all refugees, saved you from death caused by the all-consuming might of Ashwatthama's Brahma missile. And he was victorious even over Shiva, the destroyer of death. Is such a being incapable of saving himself? He has the power, unaided by anyone else, to create, preserve, and dissolve this world, but yet he did not want to allow his own human body to survive the destruction of his clan, because he wanted to demonstrate that this mortal body is of no ultimate value, and that the way of those established in the Atma is to let it fall without any regret. Whoever glorifies Krishna by reciting with concentration and devotion this account of his ascent to his pristine state will himself attain to that state. Bhagavan Krishna didn't burn his body. He contemplated on his nature, and his body became unmanifest. He did this to teach us that more than the body, you are the spirit. That is all that is shared about Bhagavan Krishna. When Bhagavan Krishna became unmanifest, that is when our yugas shifted from Dwapara to Kali. From the age of silver to the age of steel. Sounds very much like the Industrial Revolution, correct? I was reading a commentary on Bhagavatam, and I wrote this down. Apparently, Kali began 3,012 years before year zero. I think it's known as BC, but it's changing now. I don't know that whole terminology. And now we're in year 2023. So if you can sort of think about this, Bhagavan Krishna's body became unmanifest 5,035 years ago. This is when selfishness, swartha, became more apparent, more pervasive. What happens next? This is the final verse that I will read for this chapter. It is verse 21. Arjuna preyasa sakyuhu Krishnasya virahaturaha atmanam santvayam asa Krishna Gitai saduktibihi. Arjuna felt great distress over separation from Lord Krishna, his dearmost friend. But he consoled himself by remembering the transcendental words that the Lord had sung to him. Bhagavan Krishna had shared with Daruka, before he became unmanifest, to go to Dwaraka. And he told everyone that Dwaraka is going to be consumed by the ocean. So you must leave Dwaraka. And so when Daruka went back to Dwaraka and told everyone that our entire family has now been destroyed, including Shri Balarama and Bhagavan Krishna, they sadly went to Prabhasa. That's where this war or this fight had happened. And when they saw all of their families' bodies lying there, when they couldn't see Shri Balarama anymore, they couldn't see Bhagavan Krishna, many others thinking about Bhagavan, they also died. Bhagavan Krishna's parents, many of his spouses, his children, they were all thinking about him, and then their bodies died. That really shows that they joined Bhagwan. And that's why I told you about Kali Yuga. What is the message of Bhagwan? Get enlightened and get out. And many of his family members did that instantly. And this shows that evolution is not based on time, it's based on sincerity. Eventually, Dwaraka did get consumed by this water, other than Bhagwan Krishna's palace. Bhagwan Krishna's palace survived. Here is what Rishi Shuka shares about Bhagwan Krishna's palace in Dwaraka. The Lord Krishna is ever present in that place. It is the most auspicious of the auspicious places, the very remembrance of which will rid humans of their sins. And so the point is, go to Dwaraka. Be in Dwaraka and feel that Bhagwan Krishna lived here. With so much death and so much sadness, Bhagwan had told Daruka to encourage everyone to go to Indraprastha. And that is where Prince Arjuna will look after them. And Prince Arjuna, when he found out that Bhagwan's body had become unmanifest, he became dejected. But what I just read to you, he remembered the Bhagavad Gita, and he came out of that dejection. How lovely is that, that Prince Arjuna internalized the Bhagavad Gita enough that in that moment of high tension, this was still with him. When all of these sad people had come to Indraprastha, Prince Arjuna became sad, but then happy. Raja Yudhishthira became sad, but he never had Bhagavad Gita. So what did he do? He renounced being the ruler, and he made Raja Parikshita the ruler. And Raja Yudhishthira went on a yatra. That's a famous part of the Mahabharata, where he and many others go on a yatra. Everyone's connecting all the dots. Bhagwan became unmanifest. He's teaching us that you are not the manifest, you are the unmanifest. If you want to be with Bhagwan, find him inside of you. Daruka went to Dwaraka, told all of the family members about this death. They all went to Prabhasa. They were terribly sad. Many died there. Those who survived went to Indraprastha. Prince Arjuna looked after them. Raja Yudhishthira looked after them. And then Raja Parikshita became the ruler. Whosoever studies and recites these accounts of Mahavishnu's incarnation and works with faith and devotion will have all of their sinful tendencies destroyed. If any of us feel like we're not good people, we've not done that which is right in the past, here is a way to change that. A human who recites and studies with devotion the account of the glorious prowess displayed by the Lord in his incarnation, and especially the descriptions of the most charming activities of his in childhood, as given here in this text or anywhere else, will attain to the highest form of love for him, which is the goal of the Paramahamsas. And a very beautiful detail here, which sometimes it's hard to connect. This is the end of the skanda. Where did Rishi Shuka take us? He didn't leave us in this sad aspect. He took us back to the katha part, particularly about Bhagwan Krishna in his childhood. What an amazing teacher. He knows what we need. So remember Bhagavan, not that he's not manifest, remember when he was manifest. Iti ekadasha skandaha samaptaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.